Hi everybody, my name is Shelby Kennedy. I am a current senior here at West Virginia Wesleyan College, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about my capstone for my communications minor, which I chose to focus on the mental health of college athletes, an issue I'm personally very passionate about, and I can't wait to talk to you all about a little bit more. So before I get into everything, I did just kind of want to give a fair trigger warning. I will be talking about self-harm and suicide at some point in this presentation, so if you're uncomfortable with any of that, feel free to step out and won't be offended. It is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. So, first off, how I created this project. So, to focus on what I did include first, so I included research from various institutions and studies conducted across the country, and also conducted my own personal survey with various individuals who I have personal connections with and that work within or play within the college athletics system here in the US. And what I found or used, I used various statistics supporting the idea that there is a mental health crisis within college athletics currently, and then I also included potential solutions based on published information and results of the survey that I conducted. And then to talk about what I didn't include, so I didn't mention my own personal experiences because I am a member of the college softball team here at Wesleyan, but I just didn't mention that in detail a whole lot just because it does impact this community. So next, why should we care about this? So the lack of adequate mental health resources for college athletes, coupled with the immense pressure that comes with competing at the collegiate level, is causing an overall increase in the instability of the mental health of college athletes across the country at all levels of competition. And a couple points that I just really want to stress in this little paragraph here is I feel that this is happening at all levels of competition across the NCAA and also the NAIA. So within the NCAA, there's three different levels of competition: Division 1, 2, and 3. And then the NAIA is a whole other separate entity, and then there's 3 divisions within that as well. And the studies that I've included just stress this point that this is not just happening at institutions, smaller institutions or bigger institutions, it's happening everywhere, and athletes everywhere are feeling this pressure to perform at a high level, and that's causing them just various mental health issues. So before I kind of get started, I just want to share the statistic with everyone. So 25%, it was found that 25% of college athletes experience disordered eating, burnout, depression, or anxiety. So that's a quarter of the population of collegiate athletes, and I'll talk about how many there are here in a second, but it's a lot. So a sad truth. So beginning in spring of 2020, the NCAA research team conducted a survey of over 70,000 student athletes across Division 1, 2, and 3 athletics to examine how they felt athletics examined their physical and mental health. So basically just how athletics was impacting them on a day-to-day basis in regards to their mental health. So the findings that I chose to focus on in this presentation were from fall 2021, and this found that 45% of male athletes felt overwhelming anxiety, and 24% felt so depressed that it was difficult for them to function. So that's almost half of the male athletes feeling just this high level of anxiety because of their sport. And personally, as an athlete, your sport is supposed to be something that you can turn to as an outlet and something that you find great passion and great joy in. So the fact that this many people are experiencing this level of anxiety is just so sad to me. And then also, this study found that 72% of female athletes felt overwhelming anxiety, and 36% felt so depressed that it was difficult to function. And this kind of speaks to just the overall trend within anxiety and depression, statistics as a whole, that women usually experience it more, but this also highlights the fact that men also experience it. It's not just a female thing. So another statistic that I wanted to share with you guys. So 10% of all student athletes with known mental health conditions seek help from a mental health professional. So I think this is important to highlight because that's only 10% of individuals that feel like they have a struggle actually go out and seek help. And so that means a lot of these athletes and just people in general are struggling in silence, which I think is just horrible and just makes the issue 10 times more important, and we need to come up with resources and ways that people can feel like they can turn to somebody and talk to them about it. So why is this 10% statistic the case? So if the NCAA conducted this study, right, and they conducted on mental health of their athletes. They must have programs in place at every institution to help their athletes, right? No, that's completely wrong. There is no sort of mandate from the NCAA that an NCAA institution or an NAI institution needs to have a sports psychologist. It's an institution by institution decision. So, to kind of highlight the lack of action and attention by the NCAA, I chose to talk about 5 of these athletes here. So the lack of attention by the NCAA regarding their athletes' mental health led to 5 student-athlete suicides in the year 2022 alone. So here we have 5 different athletes, and all of these athletes competed at various different levels. So Sarah Schultz, Katie Meyer, they both competed and played Division I soccer. And then Jaden Hill competed and played, it was Division II competitive cheer. Robert Martin was a Division III college lacrosse player, and Lauren Burnett was a Division I college softball player. So I think this just is like a sad fact that we lost 5 precious young lives due to the lack of attention from the NCAA and the lack of them actually doing something and changing. So why is this happening? Why does this keep occurring? So lack of on-campus resources and protocols for athletes struggling mentally is a big one. I can personally speak to this here at Wesleyan. We do not have a specific person or a psychologist, a specific sports psychologist that we can go to as an athlete and go talk to talk about the experiences and difficulties that we're having within our sport. And the second reason that I kind of found and came up with was the immense pressure felt by athletes to compete from their coaches and fan bases. So the pressure to compete by your coaches is kind of felt at any level. The fan base aspect is a little bit primarily felt at like your bigger Division I schools because you have millions and millions of people watching these games. And as an athlete, I mean, you're only human. You don't want to let these people down, and you want to like make them proud, but you're only human and you can only do so much. And it's just that pressure to succeed and pressure to be the best. The third reason that I kind of came up with was the amount of time college athletics takes up. So yes, obviously every athlete, when you compete at the college level, it is a choice. But I think a lot of athletes don't realize prior to coming to college how much time you're actually going to be devoting to your sport. I can personally attest to this as well. I mean, my days are kind of insane a lot of the times, but you know, you find a way to get it done, but every person is different. I do a decent job at coping with it, but some people not so much, and that's okay. So we need to do a better job of having resources to help these athletes cope with that time consumption that athletics does take up. And then the last reason that I came up with was pressure to remain the top dog or continuing to compete at a high level. So for a lot of student athletes, when you're in high school or even various travel ball organizations, you're kind of like a big fish in a little pond. You're on top and you're competing and you're great, but then you come to college and you're a small fish in a big pond and you have to try and compete and outwork not only your teammates but your competitors. And so that pressure that any athlete can attest that they feel that is just, it's insurmountable sometimes. And again, some people just cannot cope with that, and that's okay. So to kind of touch on the personal research that I conducted, so I interviewed 3 different individuals with various experience within college athletics. So participant number 1 was a former Division I softball player, and she currently coaches Division III college softball. Participant 2 is a current Division I women's ice hockey player, and participant 3 is a former Division II and NAI women's soccer player. So I chose these individuals not only because I have a personal connection to all 3 of them, but also because they have participated in and are involved with various sports. This just kind of speaks to my point that this is happening amongst all different sports, all different levels, and they've all competed and played at different levels. So, not to get into the findings of what I found after interviewing them. So my first question that I asked them was, have you ever sought out medical help or other resources due to your mental health while participating in college athletics? So 2 out of the 3 said yes, which is actually great because, as I said, that 10% only seek out help is like the overwhelming statistic. But then the 3rd person did say no. So that kind of speaks to the fact that most athletes, even if you are struggling, feel like you either can't go seek help or don't know where to go to seek help. So the second question that I asked was, have you seen a change in your mental health since participating in college athletics? If so, how? And not going to get into their responses too much, but two of the participants both agreed and said yes, they have seen a change. And I also can personally attest to that. I think just the stress, the whole time consumption thing that I was talking about, it does take a toll on you, and you would be lying to yourself if you said it doesn't. And the next question I asked is, do you feel there are adequate resources for mental health at the college athletics level? Explain, or give examples, or explain why not. And so participant one kind of highlighted that on bigger campuses, she feels that mental health is a bigger aspect and more highly acknowledged by not only the administration, but also the athletic department, whereas here at smaller schools like Wesleyan, that it's not as much of a priority, which is honestly just sad because it should be a priority no matter where you are. And then participant two said that there are many resources for seeking help, but when you're in the same environment every single day, it doesn't make it better how many therapy sessions you attend. And this just kind of like struck me in the heart because I was like, holy cow, like she sought out help and she's still not feeling better. She's still feeling these same struggles, which is just terrible because you shouldn't have to feel that way as a human. And then lastly, participant three kind of speaks to my whole point of the colleges that she attended didn't have anyone specific for her to go to and experience that I felt here at Wesleyan. And so the next question I asked was name some ways that you feel your experience with college athletics could have been different if there were better resources for mental health. So a lot of this just speaks to the fact that if there were better resources for our athletes, that our athletes would have better coping skills and better mechanisms to deal with the stress and anxiety that they feel at the college level. And then lastly, the question I asked was, if it were up to you, what programs do you think every NCAA institution needs to have to support the mental health of their athletes? And this just kind of supports my decision and my findings and solutions that I'll get into here in a minute, but that every institution needs to have a sports psychologist on campus that someone can go to and talk about the stress and anxiety that they're feeling and just be able to be in a better mental state. Because your sport, again, should be bringing you joy, not the highest levels of anxiety you've ever felt in your life. So some potential solutions that I came up with in combination with the research that I found and then the research that I conducted, it being the NCAA in collaboration with state and local governments enacting legally mandated programs to implement within all NCAA institutions to provide the necessary mental health resources. So the first one that I kind of highlighted was weekly hour-long counseling sessions with a licensed sports psychologist for every student athlete. So this is just kind of doing a check-in with every person, whether that person is feeling like they need to get some help or not. And then that way, this sports psychologist can kind of analyze, like, okay, how are my athletes doing? Where are they at? And I mean, we have an athletics representative here on campus that we kind of do that at an academic level if you're struggling academically, so we should be able to do the same thing psychologically. So secondly, I feel that there should be a semesterly evaluation of each athlete to determine if an athlete is mentally eligible or not. If deemed ineligible, then a plan will be prepared to return the athlete to a better mental state before being allowed to return to competition. So I feel like this one's really important because every year competing within college athletics, you have to get a physical examination done before every season. So if we're checking out our bodies physically, we need to be checking out our bodies mentally, and I feel like doing this on a semester by semester basis is really important because your mental health can shift so quickly that doing it at a year-long basis just isn't going to be enough. So we need to do a semester-long evaluation and then come up with a plan to return this athlete just to a better state. And so just to kind of wrap things up, if the NCAA were to implement the solutions I created or even solutions similar to it, the amount of college athletes struggling with mental health will decrease. There will also be more resources for these athletes, allowing them to find and utilize better coping mechanisms, helping them to continue to play the sport they love, which should be the main reason that all athletes get to play each and every day. And I feel like if these solutions were truly enacted by local, state governments and the NCAA, the mental health crisis will get better. And I hope that you all can help me make that happen. Thank you.